Hello, welcome back. Today, I'm going to continue reading from my book, Sparrowmancer. I will put a link to this book in the description. We are on chapter 10. There is a Navab story. When the world went gone, death became its ruler. Solitude walked the wastes for 300 years, considering whether to challenge death, take her throne, and rule the world himself. Dog Spirit told him he should be satisfied that death let him walk through her lands unharassed. Machine Spirit told Solitude that he was the ruler of the world already, and that death's time was over, because there were no humans left to die. Solitude believed Machine Spirit and made war on death, but death humbled him. She showed him that humans still lived, and told him that the world was hers as long as they were mortal. Machine Spirit had lied, hoping that Solitude would kill death, and that the last remaining people would become immortal machines that it could rule in Solitude's name. Therefore, Solitude took away Machine Spirit's ability to think and left it wandering forever. Thus, solitude remains the fate of machines, and death remains the fate of humans. Sparrow rode east on a warm morning. There were unusual colors in the sky. He followed the shore for many days. Sometimes at night, he would walk out into the water until it was up to his neck. He liked to feel animals moving around him. Little fish cleaned the last of his skin from his endoskeleton. Though he was sad to have lost the bracelet Ethel's people had made him, Sparrow was happy to see his old flesh go. It was wasted anyway. Underneath it, he was sleek and angular. When he could travel no further along the shoreline, Sparrow turned north and headed into the cold. Then he took the first corridor east. After a few days, he came to a forest of tall trees with slim, white trunks. The forest went north as far as he could see. A two-lane, gone highway went east through the middle of it like an artery. He rode it for a long time, going as fast as he could, listening to the wind in the trees. Peace stole over him. He still felt the effects of his recent magical excesses, but those effects were like the last of his human flesh. A long drive through sunny days nibbled them away, and he was glad. Machook had been right. She'd known what he hadn't, that he needed to be alone. Solitude was healing. On a dreary day, Sparrow hit a chest-high wire. He fell out of his saddle, rolled, and skidded. By the time he got to his feet, someone had jumped onto his hover bike and sped away. Pardon my yawning. He looked after them for a moment, shocked. Then he started to run. He pumped his arms and legs, pushing himself hard. His feet clanked against the asphalt. His legs whirred. Sparrow was fast, but the bike could keep accelerating. Eventually, inevitably, it outpaced him. There was nothing to do but follow. Sleet slicked the road. Sparrow went into the forest to get out of it. He switched off his temperature sensitivity. The bike left trace heat he could track, but it would dissipate quickly. He followed through the trees at a good clip until the heat trail cooled away. Besides heat, the CX-580 gave off no emissions, not even an ion trail. But the thief had been on foot. Maybe they had come from nearby. Sparrow trudged along the road's curve until he came to a big camp. The camp was on a little hill that stuck out of the woods like a knobby thumb knuckle. It spread north to south, surrounded by an appropriated sound abatement wall. There was a checkpoint at the west gate, guards there armed with Mayon rifles, and a tower in the south. This was a serious, permanent operation. Sparrow wondered how long it had been here. Was the thief there now, stripping his rare bike for parts? Sparrow gathered his courage and went up the hill toward the camp. The guard at the west gate was tall with a long neck. Her clothes were threadbare and shapeless. Black bangs framed her round face, cut just above her thick brows and blue eyes. She held her DEW with the barrel pointed down. It was polished, cleaner than she was. She looked at Sparrow with her nostrils flared and her mouth turned down hard. Sparrow guessed disgust, and his facial gesture scan supported that. No chassis, she said, lifting her weapon. Sparrow raised his hands. Pardon me, he said. Someone stole my CX-580 hoverbike. I am here to reacquire it. I don't need to come inside. Another guard approached. He was a big slab of a man with a missing ear. His cane gun looked small in his frying pan hands. There was a tall, pale man beside him. He had his hands folded over each other and was apparently blind. He was like a statue. You want shit, Gearbox? Slab said. What I want is to see whoever's in charge. Sparrow replied. I'm even content to wait in the cold. I'm unarmed. No entry, growled Bangs. She shifted her finger to the firing switch. That one fingernail was blue. Slab had blue on his trigger finger, too. Sparrow said, all right, and walked back down the hill. He collected wood, scooped out a fire pit, and lined the pit with rocks. Then he found a flat board for a hearth and a stick for a spindle. He used a cantrip to keep the wood dry, and as he started spinning the spindle stick, he heard a shriek from the camp. Spinning the spindle stick rather than spinding. It was awful, a bestial sound. It made his head hurt. People up the hill started moving around a lot after the scream. Sparrow got nervous and moved out of view of the camp to make his fire. After about an hour of work, he had light and hope. He reactivated his temperature sensitivity so he could feel the fire's warmth. And that was better than feeling nothing at all. Sparrow sat looking into the writhing flames. There were dryads in the forest. He saw them moving, green shapes in the shadow. Heard them singing their ugly songs, far, near, and then far again. Their branching non-melodies evoked ancient sylvan chaos. He thought about Galhoth and the six-faced goddess. The sun set, and he wondered if Machuk was on the beach at Yim, watching it go down, the pinking light on her skin, bare feet in the water. He thought about everything he'd had in his saddlebags. As soon as he retrieved his bike, he would try to find some clothes that would fit his odd metal body. Its shapes were mostly right, but there were a few unusual curves. His shoulders and hips were slight. Pants would sag. A coat would hang off him. He liked the idea of quitting clothes, but he realized that he needed pockets. He didn't even have his rubber blanket. Sparrow lay down on the forest floor, sleet still falling on him, and sank into sleep. His dreams were cold and muted. He fell through them like a feather. There were no people in them. All the people were all dead. He dreamed of a world where everything was gone. For the next few days, Sparrow thought about how he could break into the camp. He climbed some high trees and surveyed the camp from different angles. It was busy and well protected. The checkpoints closed at dusk. Even if you jumped the fence, there were lights everywhere. People moved around at all hours. There was a residential sector with neat houses, and there was a business sector with a bar that was always open. The camp grew corn and grain in heated domes, and there were penned animals in the farming sector. A handmade flag flew from a pole atop the watchtower. The camp was like a little world. Clearly, the leader was more organized and militant than Jory had been. Unfortunately, Spires was probably on the way to its death, but this camp had seen many winters. Breaking in presented too many variables and obstacles. Sparrow tried to think of a simpler plan. He watched the camp's guards let all manner of rag-wrapped indigents pass. Being obviously mechanical was apparently the one impediment to his walking through the checkpoint with the rest of the desperate rabble. As much as Sparrow liked being skin-free, he had to admit that he probably wouldn't have decided to abandon his flesh if the glitter girl hadn't blasted most of it off. One morning he went to collect mud. He dug wet earth up from the feet of trees and smeared it on himself. By midday he had covered himself completely. Mud dried on his chassis for hours, tightening against the metal. He put more on whenever a bit dropped off. Finally, he spoke an incantation for disguise. The dried mud became skin, clothes, a hood, a face. Then Sparrow meditated for a while to cement his concentration. When he was ready, he went back to the camp. The guard wasn't Bangs this time. It was a much older woman, and she didn't look twice at him. She was going to let him in. She asked him his name, but then the pale blind man at the entrance started to scream. It was the scream from yesterday, that animal shriek. The sound echoed into the woods. Sparrow's concentration shattered, and his disguise shattered with it. "Magic!" cried the older woman. She aimed her gun. A guard who wasn't Slab came to join her. There were others at the checkpoint, shabby people in line behind Sparrow, trying to get into the camp. When the pale man started screaming, a few of them tried to squeeze through the gate. The older woman shot them dead. More screams rang out. Answers from within the camp. The sound abatement fence dampened the racket a little bit, but the first screamer was outside it. Sparrow was disoriented. His systems set up latency alarms. Confusion broke out. People started shouting. The big man, who wasn't Slab, prepared to shoot Sparrow, and Sparrow couldn't remember what he was supposed to do. He couldn't even remember how to switch off his audio receptors. He went to his knees, terrified and lagging, and just waited for particle fire. None came. The screaming stopped. A man appeared and told the guards to stand down. Sparrow regained his composure. The man offered him a hand, and he took it. Somehow, the screaming had affected him on a hardware level, and he needed help to stand up. "I'm sorry about that," said the man. "We're a non-magical community. Spellcasting is a death sentence, carried out immediately." Sparrow pulled himself to his feet. The man had a powerful grip. "That pale man is allergic?" Sparrow said. "I collect hypersensitives," the man replied. "My name is Jay. This is my camp." The old woman returned to her post as things settled down. The big man rubbed the pale man's face. There was no one in line at the checkpoint now. A team came out to throw the dead onto the hillside. "I'm Sparrow," Sparrow said. "Yesterday they told me machines weren't allowed. You don't like us either?" Jay looked at Sparrow. His chin was sunken, his eyes were black, and his shirt didn't fit over his bulk. He smelled like whatever local plant he'd rubbed under his arms this morning. "I don't know what you mean by us," he said. "I've never seen anything like you. Come talk with me." "I appreciate it," Sparrow said. Jay did something that was between a nod and a bow. He smiled, and Sparrow didn't like it. "It's my pleasure, Sparrow," he said, "and my duty." We'll stop here and resume reading Chapter 10 next time. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this book. And if these videos make you want to buy it, I appreciate that. I will see you in the next video.